Uh,
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way.
What's happening, everybody? I am doing my Friday episode here, and one of my goals with the podcast is to be able to have on with us, besides people that telling stupid stories of my childhood or different experiences, actually having people from my little tiny 1 square mile hometown who have accomplished things. Strangely, in this one small little square mile town, we have quite a bit of talent, whether with athletically, ability. Like, I can't even possibly fathom the ability to be able to write a book to hold the attention of anybody. But I can't even. Like I've said before, I have trouble. I have to read a sentence 4 times for it to comprehend. So shows you how well I paid attention in school. But my guest today is Ilene Dudek. Am I pronouncing your married name correct?
You are.
And Ilene and I go back probably, I don't even want to say the number of years, but it's been a long time since we both lived in Woodridge. We went to high school together, and I played probably Little League with your brothers at one point or another. So that's how far back we're talking, and I'm pretty old. So you seem very young. So by comparison, my mom told me never reference a woman's age, but for me, I'm getting there in age. I can tell by the gray hair and my beard, and you still, from your profile and Facebook social media presence, you still look like the same girl I remember growing up in Woodridge. So you're holding it together much better than I am. It's like bubble gum and rubber bands over here. So we're trying to make it work.
Well, thank you.
So the reason I wanted to have you on is talk a little bit about your book. You're an author. You've written several books, but I wanted to get into, before we go into that, what part are you still live in New Jersey, right?
I am. I'm in Nutley, New Jersey.
Okay, and you're married. You have two boys. How?
I do, and just so you know, let me just let you know, my name actually is not, it's Ilene Dudek. It's not Ilene Dudek. Catania is just sort of put in there as my maiden name just for people to find me. But just to throw it out there, it's Ilene Dudek.
Very good. My apologies. I'm assuming when people are looking up authors, it does make quite a bit of difference to be able to actually have the accurate author name. So my faux pas on that.
No problem.
So all right. So we went to school together. You stayed in Bergen County. You stayed in New Jersey. You're married. You have 2 kids. Where did you end up going to? Did you end up going to one of the local schools, like one of the William Patterson or like Montclair? Where did you end up going to school there?
I did. I went to Montclair State University in Montclair, and I went for English creative writing. So I sort of always had this kind of writing bug in me.
And that was kind of my question. Like, people go to school and have a degree that they follow, and they don't necessarily get a chance to translate it. So you went to school. This was a passion since you were a kid. I mean, how far back do you remember writing stories or whether essays or things like that kind of captured your bug for wanting to do this?
Oh my God, so far back. So I remember, I was 5 years old when I was writing a story about a kibasi that I was about to eat, and that's like, my mom's ode to, my writing abilities. She claims she held on to this story for years and years and years, and I may just resurrect it one day, but since I was really, really young, I just always loved to write these crazy stories, and it really followed me through high school and college, and even into my career. I went into advertising and writing, and I just really was trying to follow this passion of mine and try to make a living while doing it. And I worked in New York City, and I went to California for a while. So it really just has been a long road and journey of writing for me.
So you had this career in advertising. tell me a little bit about that aspect of it. Was it the creative side of advertising where, like I picture, Jennifer Aniston in a movie in front of a board writing out these slogans, and was it that type of? Did it apply? Was it applicable the same way there, or were you proofing or editing? How did the writing translate into the marketing? What was the connection there?
Oh no, it was absolutely copywriting. So it was doing the actual writing for advertising and for print ads and e-blasts. So I worked at Movado Group for many, many years, and I sort of started at the ground there and worked my way up, and it really was just the creative writing of it. They would give you a project, a stack of assignments to work on every day, and you just like cranked out the writing that ended up on their website, on their radio ads, just anything like press releases, anything that I could create and write for them was my job.
So this is clearly this is a passion where you can take things where you want to go, as opposed to being basically assigned a task. I mean, this has to be very, very cool. And I know this isn't your first installment. Why don't you tell me a little bit about this particular book, or how do you call them, volumes, episodes? How do you classify the number of? Is this volume 6? Is this just story 6, or how do you do that?
I guess I would just say it's like book number 1, book 2. It's all part of the same series. So it's the Little Ant series, and it sort of all began when Movado Group had laid me off in like 2017. And like I was sitting potty training my son at the time, and it was literally at that moment that he was sitting there and sort of waiting for things to happen. And he said, "Mom, can you tell me a story?" And I was like, "Sure, I guess I can do that." So as we sat there, I came up with this idea of a little ant character that's in the toilet, and he gets flushed out into the world, and what kind of like crazy journeys could he go on as he's trying to find his way home. And it just all came to me all in that moment, which was really, really fun. I ran downstairs. I drew it all out. It took me probably a day to just draw everything and write the story. It just all came together, and it was almost like it was waiting to happen, So, I decided to self-publish from there, and which basically means I don't send my story out to be approved by a publishing company. It's, I get everything together. I do the cover, I write the story, I hand draw everything, and then I outline it all in black marker, and I put it into Photoshop, and then I move everything around. So I'm touching the files. I'm doing all the work to bring my vision to life. And then when I'm done, I send it out to KDP or Amazon. It's a part of Amazon that does self-publishing, and they'll just print it for you. So there's nobody saying like, take this out or don't do that. It's all my vision. And it was really fun because I like captured that one moment of him potty training, and it's actually in the first page of my book. You see like a little tushy there, and the ant in the toilet saying, "Oh no, don't do it." And it was like the perfect start to my series because it just captured just the fun-loving, lighthearted craziness of it all, And if you like the first page, you would have to check out the second page because the second page is even funnier. You have to go buy the book for that. But it was just really a great start to this whole series.
I mean, what great inspiration. I mean, I try to tell my wife my best inspiration comes from being in the bathroom, but I've never actually been able to put together a book series from it. But that is really cool. So now, how old are your boys?
So my one son, Matthew, is 12, and Alex is 7.
So, so now, does Alex know, like, he's the inspiration for getting this whole thing off the ground, or is he aware of the guys aware of the books? Are they aware where the inspiration, the muse came from?
Well, it's kind of funny because before we got started, I was sort of like practicing, and my one son Matthew was up here talking to me, and Alex is downstairs, and I'm telling Matthew like the inspiration of where it all came from, and he's yelling down to Alex, and Alex was like, "Oh, okay, cool.
No big
you know,
deal.
and I'm like, what do you mean? Okay, cool. I'm like, this is like my passion. This was the moment it all began. And he's like, oh, okay. I'm like, you
Yeah.
know, it's like, you know, your loved ones are your biggest critics, you know, especially my very honest children.
From the mouths of babes is the expression, right? But
Yes.
listen, so it originates from that. You are able to now. Are you able to at this point? We're talking 3 years later. Are you able to? Do you have to go back? Are you working a full-time job now? The world has 2020 obviously is the world is upside down. So there's so many different nuance to things that parents have to think about just in their day to day. Are you back to a full-time job, or are you able to focus on this? What kind of interaction are you having during the day with the boys? Are they in school, out of school? What is the current environment of where you're at in Nutley?
So things are, as you say, very upside down. My one son, Matthew, who's 12, he is all virtual. He has not gone back to school since March, I guess, of, earlier this year.
Right.
So he is all virtual. We're just waiting, hopefully, till January to kind of get him back into some kind of hybrid schedule. Alex has started a little bit going back to school, like 2 half days a week. So it's hybrid. He's in school a little bit, and then he's doing the rest online from home. That's going to end next week, I think, for Thanksgiving on to January. They're going to close it all down, and we're all going to just be 100% virtual. So that puts a lot on my plate because I'm here to kind of support them, and that needs to kind of be my main focus, really, is just to make sure they're getting educated and their needs are being met, because otherwise, that's sort of just my job as a mom.
Right, obviously.
And then as far as full-time work, my books have been full-time for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's just how it's going to continue for sure. I really enjoy writing. I haven't really thought about going back to work in a corporate environment. So, I think I'm just going to stick with what I'm doing. I'm writing the books, I'm marketing, I'm getting out there doing my story times, promoting them, and, doing podcasts. Thank you for the very first one ever.
Oh, cool.
So that's sort of in my day. I'm helping the kids at school, and then I'm doing what I can with my books to try to support them and bring them along in this kind of crazy time.
So we had talked about when we were just talking before we started putting this together, and I was saying how doing the podcast, I also had a career in marketing. I did a different side of marketing, not copywriting or editing. I was more media planning and buying for clients and their needs to get on either TV, radio, print. And I enjoyed that career very much.
Yes.
Having to take care of my parents, moving to Florida and help take care of my parents, my time has shifted also. And it definitely, the perspective changes where it's, I think to myself, it would be tough to go back to being in a corporate environment and having to be tied to that schedule of what the expectation is. For me, though, the hardest thing really is balancing my time and a lot of what goes into it. So you had just said, self-publishing and illustrations. When you sit down, so you have, so this first inspiration comes from potty training. When you sit down and you start to put together, I want to do my next installment in the Little Ant series, what is like time frame? Like an idea comes to you, and does it take you 6 weeks? Like for me, the thought of having to draw out, illustrate, put together, like that is so scary to me as someone who doesn't have that skill set. But for you, is that something you're at a point now where you could kind of turn that around in a relatively good time frame?
Oh, definitely. I think that's one of the best parts of my job is the drawing of it all. I love illustrating. It's super fun. And when I get an idea, it is so like burning and passionate and just had to be done yesterday that I get obsessed and I have to get it done. And I focus so tightly on it that I end up, sometimes I can put together, my whole story and all my drawings together in just like weeks. It's done. And then the rest of the time, because I would say it's about a 4-month period between the moment I think of the idea to the time it gets published. And, within the first couple of weeks, even sometimes days, the meat of it is already there,
Right.
and then the rest of the time is just editing it and
Tweaking it.
trying to. I'm sorry.
Like tweaking it, like you have the nuts and the
Definitely.
bolts, and then you're kind of shifting things around. Like this will fit better here, or
Absolutely,
right.
100%. Yep. And then the thing that gets tricky though is that the second I change a word here or I change an idea here, then I have to go back and redraw the whole page because it'll change things, and I'm like, wait, that doesn't work. And it's really hard because now I gotta, it's painstaking. It's definitely a labor of love. I have to sit there and draw it all over again, and oh, wait a second, that doesn't work. And I gotta draw that page again, so everything is just all connected. And the second you make one change, it affects everything. And, it's really probably like 4 months before it's finally where I want it to be. And I'm like, this is it. This is my book. This is what I love. This is what I envisioned. And it gets out there.
So,
and the second I hit publish, it's available. That's the best part
that's
too.
cool.
It's like there's no lead time, there's no delay in it. It's as soon as it's done, it's done.
It doesn't have to go to the press anymore. There's no more going to the press for the book. So all these things you just described, out of all of it, what is the absolute, like, your favorite part? Is it coming up with the inspiration, or is it the illustration? I mean, are the stories coming from things that go on with the kids, or is it just completely random, or a mix? I mean, and what is the part that, when you're doing it, like, you're smiling from ear to ear, like, this is the part I love the most about putting this together?
Oh, yeah. Well, definitely the inspiration comes from my kids and what happens to us during the day. I mean, there's so many stories and so many things that are happening that are funny. Like, whatever makes me kind of laugh out loud is basically where I get my inspiration from. I'm like, oh, my God, that's hysterical. Like, that has to be a story. So that's usually, I'm taking it straight from my own life experiences and what my kids are going through. And my favorite part for sure is, when I'm writing the story and I'm sort of like sneaking in all these like personal details. I mean, I think that's the best part about self-publishing too, is that nobody's there to cut these details out, So it like makes my story my own and really connects me to it, So like one thing about my books, there's none of the characters have names. So you have like the little ant, you have the caterpillar, you have the shadow bully, nobody's named. But then, I was writing my one book, which is Little Ant Hears a Noise. And it happened, I was writing it when my dog passed away. So it was like so heartbreaking. I was like, oh my God, this is really, really tough. And right before I hit publish, I was like, wait a second, let me get my dog into this book. And that was like such an aha moment for me, because I was like, oh my God, I have the power to do this. So out of all my books, there's one page that says, was it Tucker with his garbage can? And I was like, oh, Tucker, you're there. You're here forever with me in the story. And that was like one little like personal moment that I was like, yes, this makes this book like my own.
That's awesome.
So stuff like that's really cool.
And that's, I mean, listen, you're talking to someone whose podcast is 16W with Norman. I mean, anybody who follows any of our Instagram or our Facebook stuff knows that Norman is definitely my sidekick. He's literally sleeping right behind me. I'm surprised the snoring hasn't bled through. So I can appreciate that. And not having kids, I have, gosh, I think I have like 7 nephews and 1 niece, ranging from ages 3 to 23 or 24.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we have a pretty wide range. My wife and I are separated by a few years, and I'm the youngest in my family, and she's one of the older siblings in her family. So we have this broad range of stuff, and just seeing some of the things that my one particular nephew, the things he gets into, there could be, if I actually had the skill set, there could be volumes. I mean, like Encyclopedia Britannica, I don't even know if they make Encyclopedia Britannica anymore, but Encyclopedia Britannica volumes of what this kid gets into. And it has to be very cool to watch someone that's a part of you help you, to inspire you to be able to do something that you love. That to me is what it's all about, to be able to do that. So while you're going through and all this stuff is going on, we touched a little bit on the world being upside down. How drastically is your day affected? I mean, besides the homeschooling, I mean, that's one component to it. Does it make it more difficult, or is everything so electronic that the fact that things aren't as face to? I mean, I'm in Tampa, you're in New Jersey. We could have this conversation. Is the world gotten smaller and the pandemic isn't as big of an issue, or has the pandemic caused an issue for you in this on a day-to-day, basis?
Well, it's definitely changed the way that I do business for sure. And I think it's for the better, shockingly. Up until this point, I sort of promoted my books very locally. I really like doing story times at like libraries and schools, and you get to see the kids and you get to interact and really see the joy on their faces when you're reading your story. So that's really been my focus up until the pandemic, is just very local connections with people,
Right.
And then once the pandemic hit and there's no more live events going on and libraries were closed for a long time and schools were closed, so, there goes that idea. It sort of forced me to look at more online virtual story times, maybe collaborating with other people to do these story times. And it's good. It's kind of opened up my eyes to like the great big world that's out there. I did Facebook advertising for the first time like a month ago, and I got a report saying that 14,000 people saw my ad, and I almost fell over. I was like, 14,000 people? I was like, is that a mistake? I never even thought, hello, like the whole world is dealing with the same problem I'm dealing with. Everybody is
Right.
is trying to get through this coronavirus, and kids in particular. They're like, how do you explain this to them? How do you tell them that everything is going to be okay, and really what's happening? Why are playgrounds closed and schools are closed, and you can't really see your friends? That's sort of how it's been lately in New Jersey.
Right.
And and it kind of opened my eyes to like the greater world out there. Let me get my word out and my story out to the country, and not just my local connections, So when this is all over, because hopefully it will be very soon, I got to remember, I do love to connect with people, go to craft fairs and share my journey and get their journey and share tips and advice and really connect. But I want to remember to keep doing this online stuff and doing the podcasts and, really broadening my horizons, because there's so many more people out there to reach,
Yeah, and Facebook, listen, as a human being on Earth, the scary part about their ability to reach the specific person you're looking to reach, from a living on the planet and privacy type stuff, it can be scary. But from a marketing standpoint, which is a lot of what I did, to be able to pinpoint, to say, hey, my stories, and that's what I was going to ask you next, is your primary audience, is it moms with children ages 2 to 5, 2 to 7? What is that? What is your ideal parent that you are trying to reach that's going to want to pick up the book that they can read to the kids at night or on the toilet or at bedtime? Or who is that wheelhouse that you're trying to reach?
Well, definitely the age group is from 3 to 8. But I would say like the sweet spot is probably around 5.
Okay.
Like my stories are pretty fast moving. There's only about 2 sentences per page, and the sentences are rhyming. The words are pretty easy. So it's sort of with, I've written them with it in mind that like the kids are going to pick it up on their own at some point and read it themselves,
Right. Right.
So, and it definitely like keeps their attention by being like short and sweet and straight to the point, but fun and exciting and silly. Like I definitely think that it's for the younger group to really enjoy and love before bedtime, that kind of thing. So I'll try to reach the parents of that kind of age group.
Okay, so then before I get into the promotion of how we find you and all this other stuff, my one kind of last question, next steps for you is this where you want to stay, or do you feel like that you have in you somewhere a story like a novel, or even look, I readily admit I wait for books to come onto the screen. I don't have the attention span. I went to good old Woodridge High School. I wasn't on the National Honor Society. I think I scathed by because I sort of was some semi-athlete. So I'm not a big book reader, but do you feel like that you want to, and I don't want to say graduate, that's not the right word. Do you want to progress in the way you write so that you're reaching an audience, that is not just for that 3 to 8 year old parent or 5-year-old kid that's reading a book, that you have a novel in you somewhere?
Well, it's funny you say that, because way back when I was in college, I definitely loved writing kind of like horror stories. It's more like my thing to write more adult kind of content,
Right.
Something suspenseful, more like Stephen King kind of stuff. So to switch and do children's books seems a little strange to me in my whole journey. But I think the huge component to this is that I really, really love to draw. And I don't think I ever want to give that up, So part of me is like, oh, maybe I could write like a longer story, or even like young adult or something really like I can really sink my teeth into, But I don't know if I would give up the illustrations, I just really love that part of it, and just visually bringing my stories to life. I mean, I don't think I'm going to do an adult book with characters like little ant characters in it,
Right.
So I don't know if I would ever take that step, maybe just for fun, just to do it. But I think my heart is really into the drawing and the story and writing the story together,
That's very cool. I mean, and to have the ability to do all that, and then to have the flexibility to be able to not be kind of held to your feet to the fire on editing and things like that. That's a very liberating feeling, to be able to do the things that you enjoy and that you're able to do on your clock, that you're not having to, another edit on page 6 of, whatever the case may be. That would be the frustrating part about me. It would make it more into a job than a passion. So with all
Absolutely.
that said, how do people find you? What website? Do you have any upcoming story times? Are you, what are your plans for promoting now? We touched on it briefly. This is the 6th book in this series. Do you already have like a 7th, 8th, 9th ready to go, or are you just kind of the book's ready to go? You're going to promote this one and then on to the next, and then what is your plan to promote?
Well, so the new book that we're talking about is Little Ant and the Epic Battle. And this is all about the coronavirus, and the little ant is getting all of his bug friends to come join an army and fight the germs, which I think is really a great concept and very timely, obviously.
Yep.
But I definitely found a way to offer it in like a lighthearted manner, which was good, because I sort of wasn't sure how this was going to go. I ended up, in March and April, wandering around the streets of Nutley, because that's all we could really do. And I ended up turning down a block and running into an old daycare teacher and a friend of mine. And we started talking, and she gave me just the spark of inspiration that I was looking for to sort of pick this up, because I really wasn't focusing at the time on writing or doing anything but homeschooling my children,
Right.
And, we were just chatting away, and she just happened to give me just an idea. And I was like, oh man, that's awesome. And I came home, and I'm telling you, I wrote this story in like 2 hours flat. It was so fast. It was like such a great book to write, because it really is just such a fun, like I didn't think I could find the fun in today's crazy times, but I really was able to like lighten it up and make it like easy to understand and empowering a little bit. So, so I got this book out, and so it's brand new. So that's Little Ant and the Epic Battle, which is now what I'm going to be promoting. But it just shows you, I really don't know what is on the horizon for book 7, 8, and 9, because this is sort of how I live my life. I'm sort of just kind of hanging out, doing my thing, promoting my previous books, and keeping my eyes open on what's next. And then all of a sudden it just hits me. So I really don't know where book 7 is going to go.
Right.
And I was really surprised to have book 6 come out of me at the time that I really didn't think anything was going to pop out. And here it was. It's like now my favorite book. So I'm not sure. So I'm going to keep promoting this book for now, and get it out there. I have some story times coming up.
Where are
there
those?
might be. So I'll be doing probably an online story time for the holidays. I may be partnering with an art studio to do that. I may be doing a book signing at Staples, which, by the way, Staples is awesome. They will support small businesses and entrepreneurs. They let me set up a table in front of their store, like in their lobby, and just promote my books, which is amazing.
That's great. And
like for the spring, I'm going to be doing some story times outside with some daycares. So I'm already in talks with that. So, definitely keep an eye out on my website, littleantstories.com. because that will tell you all the events and all my inspiration behind the books. And also Amazon.com. That's my big place to get my books. But I'm also on Walmart.com, BarnesandNoble.com. So all these like different places, but Amazon is like my go-to.
Yeah, Amazon
so if you're ever trying to pick up.
Amazon is the place to get just about anything and everything. And I'm I looked it up to check to see if I wanted to order the book. Because I am an Amazonaholic, I have Amazon Prime. If I ordered the book today, I could have it by November 23rd. If you are out there and you're listening to this and you have children in that age range, 3 to 8, and you're looking to find some stories for them to not only just for you to read to them, but for them to be able to start to follow along and help them in their progression to be able to get to the point where they're reading the stories on their own or following the illustrations. Ilene does everything. Ilene Dudek is the author. The name of this book is Little Ant and the Epic Battle. It's available on Amazon. Guys, go out and check out the book. And I'm sure you will maybe get some inspiration next time you have the kids on the toilet. Maybe you'll come up with a book of your own and get creative that way. But Ilene, thank you so much for coming on. I do appreciate you taking the time this morning, and I wish you guys the best up there with everything that's kind of rekindling now. And I hope you have a safe holiday. And I look forward to following the book series going forward.
Thank you so much, Mike. I had so much fun today. It was really a great time.
Good. I'm glad. And I will definitely, when we post this, we'll be able to tag anything in there so that you can put links onto the post so that people know how to find you. Again, you're better at writing books and illustrating books than I am at doing a podcast. So we'll work it out. But I think we made it through okay. I don't know if the YouTube channel actually picked up when we started to record, but everything else seems to have gone okay. So hopefully this will help you to get the word out there. And it's so great to catch up with you. Have a happy, safe holiday with you and the kids and your husband. Enjoy.
Thank you. To you too, okay?
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.